over the course of these last couple of weeks, we've started this series entitled Better, and we're kind of focusing on relationships and how they work. And as I kicked off the series 2 weeks ago, talking about it doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter where you've been, God can redeem anything. He can redeem anything. And we kind of agreed as a group of people that we were never going to say everything happens for a reason again. Okay, that's just horrible theology. Everything happens for a reason. And can you imagine sitting with that mom and dad of that daughter in Tucson who lost her life in a car wreck this week and just sitting with them and saying, everything happens for a reason? Oh. And we wonder why people get disillusioned with God and things like that. God didn't take their daughter. God feels that pain as well. But can you imagine then sitting with them in those hard moments, in those difficult moments and saying, this is awful. This is so painful. But you know what? Everything can be redeemed. Something beautiful can rise from this. Something beautiful can rise from this. And so no matter where you've been, what you've done, you've not gone too far, everything can be redeemed. That's just the way God works. And then last week, guest speaker Jerry Harris, he kind of talked about how our relationships are supposed to progress. And we kind of talked about this leading up to marriage, and there are 5 kind of steps that you take along the way that if we do these things in order, you get to know people and trust and rely on them, commit to them, and then finally you touch them and all this kind of stuff. And he said sometimes, we get those things out of order, and then we wonder why things are messed up or broken or confused and all this kind of stuff. Well, God has this progression of the way that things are supposed to work, and we follow His word on those things. It's really cool what happens. Well, today we're going to focus on this marriage idea. And so if you're not married, I don't want you to tune me out here, okay? And I want you to hear me say this, and I'll say this again in a minute. But if you're not married, you're complete, okay? You don't need a spouse to be complete, okay? What the Bible does here with this idea of marriage is it gives us a glimpse of our relationship with God and how it works. And marriage is a visual illustration of how that can work. And some of you have been married in the past, and you were hurt and you were wounded in that, and the idea of marriage is just like, no. I get it. I understand. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. But hang with us here. Remember, everything can be redeemed, but there's some things here that we're going to learn today that it can apply to any relationships. So here's where I want to begin today, by asking you a question. What do lovebirds, puffins, mice, albatross, coyotes, bald eagles, vultures, beavers, lizards, doves, seahorses, gibbons, cranes, owls, geese, swans, monkeys, pigeons, parakeets, macaws, wolves, angelfish, foxes, penguins, sea turtles, flatworms, condors have in common? They mate for life. That's what they have in common. They mate for life. Now, although these animals only account for a very small percentage of all the animal kingdom, it's kind of fascinating that they would mate for life at all. Why would they do that? They're animals. Animal instincts kicked in. Okay? Well, we as humans are designed by God to mate for life. But sometimes we act like animals. Okay, and we kind of do what we want, when we want, with who we want, how we want, and then want God to show up and bless it. That's kind of the way we act sometimes. But God created us to have a choice. You and I as humans, we get a choice as to whether we're going to follow God or not. Animals, they don't have that kind of stuff. They don't have that spirit and all that kind of stuff. They don't have to deal with that. And you know what? We're not designed to act like a feral cat or a feral dog. We're just not designed to act that way. Thank goodness. Because at my house, we've had an issue with feral cats. Some of you know my love for cats. If you think that's true, you don't know me well at all. Dogs go to heaven, cats don't. We can debate that later, okay? But we had trouble with feral cats in our neighborhood. And they come in our yard and they do stuff in our yard, and they do stuff on our patio furniture, and they tear stuff up, and it's destructive, and it's a nuisance, and I don't like it. I don't like it, okay? And that's kind of the way we act sometimes in our sex life. We do things and we get out of place we're not supposed to be. We do destruction, we tear up things. Other people get hurt and they don't like it. We're not designed to act that way. We're designed to mate for life. Now remember, everything can be redeemed. Everything can be redeemed. Some of you here today are married. Some of you are divorced. Some of you are single and you want desperately to be married. You want almost too desperately to be married. You're like, God, just let somebody at Costco hit me with their cart and I will marry that person. If they have a pulse and a part-time job, I'll marry them, okay? You know, they don't have to have benefits. God, I'll just marry them anyway, whatever. You know, we'll settle for anything because we're so desperate to be in that relationship. And that gets us into trouble sometimes. And then there's some of us that are single. You've never been married. You don't want to be married at all, okay? Like I said, you don't need to be married to be complete in who you are in Christ. You don't need to have that. Then there are some of you that have been married before and you're single now and you're like, I don't ever want to do that again. Okay? Take a breath. We're all okay. Then there's some of you here who are single because your spouse has passed on. You're widowed. We cover the gamut of these marital relationships inside this group. But all of us are connected to the idea of marriage. You know why? Because we're hardwired by God for this type of relationship or to understand how this relationship is supposed to look and how it's supposed to work. Because when we understand how the marriage relationship as God defines it works, we understand our relationship with God better because they're mirror images of each other. It's really cool the way that God does this. We're all hardwired for that. So why is marriage so difficult? It's the most basic part. It's the most basic construct of the human condition. It's the most basic construct of the human community. That's what we're supposed to have in our life. And Satan knows that if he can mess that up, he can do all kinds of damage. He can wreak havoc on our lives. Because remember, when the family breaks down, the community breaks down. When the community breaks down, state breaks down. When the state breaks down, the nation breaks down. Nation breaks down, the world breaks down. It all begins with family. It's us. And Satan's like, if I can tear that up, if I can do some damage there, if I can make that confusing, if I can get people disillusioned about what it even is, if I can get them confused about who they are, and I can mess that up, then I can mess up the neighborhood. I can mess up the state. I can mess up the nation. I can mess up the world. Well, I don't know if you know how important marriage is to God, or this visualization of what marriage is to God. But the Bible begins and ends with a wedding. And for some of us, you were today years old when you learned this. But the Bible begins and ends with a wedding. Genesis chapter 2, second chapter in the Bible, verse 21. So the Lord God caused the man to fall asleep. And while the man slept, the Lord God took out one of the man's ribs and closed up the opening. Then the Lord God made the woman from the rib, and he brought her to the man. At last, the man exclaimed. Now, Adam had just named all the animals. No, and Scripture tells us there was no helper suitable for him. But then something else happened. This one is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman because she was taken from man. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Ever heard that at a wedding? Of course you have. And what's really neat about this is this happens before the fall. This happens before Eve eats the fruit. This happens before sin is entered into the world. There's something that's missing. There's something that's different. Something's not complete. And it's that relationship. And it's the picture of how this relationship can ultimately work. So the Bible begins with this idea of a wedding, of two becoming one. And it ends, Revelation chapter 21, beginning in verse 1, it says this, Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. And these things are gone forever. Like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. The beginning of the Bible, the end of the Bible. This idea of wedding, this idea of marriage, this visualization of this relationship and what it's supposed to look like. Even the night before he was crucified, in John chapter 14, Jesus uses wedding language as he speaks to his disciples. Why is this so important? Because marriage is the earthly relationship that God created to help us understand our eternal relationship. Marriage is the earthly relationship that God created us to help us understand our eternal relationship. This is why marriage is being attacked. This is why. Now, this sermon is only 30 minutes. And some of you are like, oh, it feels a whole lot longer than that. Okay? 30 minutes. There's a timer right here, okay? It's a timer. I got you. But you are a last service, so I can say whatever I want now, okay? So maybe we'll go over a little bit. We'll see. We'll get fired up, see what happens. Okay? The sermon's only 30 minutes. You know what? That's not enough that we can just spend these 30 minutes. You're like, okay, our marriage is good. Oh, we got it. 30 minutes is good. No, it doesn't work that way. It's not enough for you to invest in a lifetime of a healthy marriage and what that can possibly look like. So what I want to do is I want to spend the majority of our time today talking about some practical things that we want to give you. We want to give you some tools. So if you want to get your phone out, you're going to want to maybe take a couple of pictures of some things here in a couple minutes. And you just want to have that available to you, okay? I want to give you some practical things. Here's a couple of books that I would love for you to take a look at. First one is called The 5 Love Languages, and we're going to dive into that in a minute. Written by Gary Chapman. Some of you know about this, some of you don't. And like I said, if you don't know about this, we're going to talk about it in just a couple minutes. The next book is called Love and Respect. Okay, Love and Respect. The subtitle is The Love She Most Desires and the Respect He Desperately Needs. You know why? Because men and women are created differently. We're different. Shocker, okay? But in that difference, there is a beauty. And there's something amazing that happens when those two different things are meshed together. Something crazy happens. We have different feelings. We have different ways of looking at things, male and female. Sorry, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. We were created differently. So I encourage you maybe take a look at that. Another book is called Becoming Better Together. Okay, Dr. John Van Epp. These are just some resources I encourage you to get. I was just told that this book is out on Amazon. I guess the first service cleared it out, something, I don't know. But the others you can probably order and have them at your house before you get there from Amazon. Go to Cracker Barrel. It'll be there by the time you get home, whatever it is, okay? These are just some practical resources. And some of you guys, you're like, oh, great, a book. So I'm talking to my guys here. And you're like, I'm not a reader. I don't read that. Okay? Really? Here's what I'll say. You read that ticker at the bottom of ESPN. Is that thing scrolling by? I do. I'm like, oh, what did it say? You know? You guys sit there and wait until that one topic comes back around again. You're with me, right, guys? Some of you get up early in the morning. You're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're watching that ticker on the stocks. You can read what you want to read. And so I would encourage you to read something that's going to invest in your marriage. These are easy reads. Okay, I'm not a smart man by any stretch of the imagination. I like easy reads. These are easy for you to read, easy for you to understand, but read something that's going to invest in your marriage. Okay? So guys, just let's make a commitment to do that. Ladies want you to do it, I promise. Okay? So why is this important that we take some of these tools and we put them into our everyday lives? Remember, it's this idea of what the marriage relationship is supposed to look like. Several years ago, I did a wedding for a couple that began as very disheartening. And here's why. As I was meeting with them before they got married. I'm kind of doing their premarital counseling. I learned that she had been in a previous relationship that was extremely unhealthy. She had been married before. It was physically, emotionally, spiritually abusive. She was in an awful situation. She'd been treated extremely poorly by her husband, and it was just, she had some deep wounds from that. Deep, deep wounds from that. And so as we're talking about their wedding ceremony, all this kind of stuff, she says this. She goes, I want you to tell people about Jesus. In our ceremony, I was like, don't worry. I got that. We can do that. And she said, but I will not say that I'm going to submit to him. I'm like, whoa. We got some yellow flags here. Something's going on. I said, hey, I can understand where you're coming from. Based on what's happened to you in your past, I can understand that. But what you're doing is you're bringing past hurt into another relationship, and you're holding him responsible for what happened in the past. That's not fair to him or you. And I said, so here's what we need to understand about what this passage about submitting and what you think this thing about submitting means. Because in this, me talking to her, I said, if you understand this as the biblical context, and remember, when we read God's word, it's all about context, right? It's not just taking one line and saying, oh, that says that. No, it's the context. I said, if you understand the context of this, his responsibility is first before yours. He's got something to do before you're asked to submit to him. So let's look at this. In Ephesians chapter 5, beginning verse 21, it says this, and further, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Submit to one another, okay? And it says this, for wives, this means submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Every guy in the place wishes it stopped right there. Because you know what that means? Give me the remote. Give me the remote. It says right there in the Bible, Pastor Chad said it. I don't have to watch this baking show anymore. Give me that remote. Okay? Give me that. We don't have to go to that restaurant. You got to do what I tell you. As Pastor said, it's in the Bible. Hold on. Remember context. For a husband is the head of his wife as Christ is the head of the church. Okay? It's like, okay, we're establishing some sort of hierarchy here. I get that. He is the Savior of his body. He is Jesus. Savior, capital S, of his body, the church. As the church submits to Christ, so your wives should submit to your husbands in everything. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. Yeah, she's supposed to submit to you, but guess what? You're supposed to lay down your life for her. And you name me any woman in that relationship that wouldn't say, this guy will lay down his life for me as he follows Jesus, and he's going to put me first, and he's going to follow hard and fast after Jesus. I can follow that guy, right? See, there's a difference there. It's not an obedience. It's not a control kind of submission. It's a mutual submission. Guys, submit to Jesus. You follow hard and fast after him, and I promise your wife will follow. Because she wants that desperately. He did this to present himself, or to present her to himself as a glorious church without spot or wrinkle or any other blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives if they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds it and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church. And we are members of his body. As the scriptures say, a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. This is a great mystery, right? But it is an illustration of the way Christ and the church are one. It's that picture again of our eternal relationship with God visualized through what marriage is supposed to be. So again, I say each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Guys, we have a big responsibility there. We have a big, big responsibility. Because what does Jesus do? His focus is to make his bride pure and holy and clean and spotless. What are you doing right now to lift up your wife? What are you doing? to make her pure and holy and clean and spotless. What are you doing? Because I promise if you're doing those things, her submitting to you is not an issue at all. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not doing this and you're abusing that, she has every right not to submit to you. That's the way it works. So, I want to give you a couple practical things so you can know and understand and love each other a little bit better. Okay, so 5 practical things. I'm going to take those 5 love languages that we talked about earlier, and I want to kind of talk through these with you. There's 5 basic ones. And then we'll do a recap slide at the end, so you don't have to take a picture of each one. You know, I don't want to take up all your space on the cloud with those pictures. So you can just take one, and you can get them all in just a second. The first love language is words of affirmation. This is when you feel loved. Maybe when your spouse says some of these words to you, you're beautiful, you're kind, that was amazing what you did, I'm so proud of you. When they say those things to you, you feel loved. Okay? Man, that's so great. When they say those little things to me, yeah, that's fantastic. You look great today. I love you. Man, you did such a great job there. I'm so thankful for you. I'm grateful for you. I'm inspired by you. When we are using those words, maybe that's what the love language your spouse needs to hear from you. The next one is quality time. This is when you put down everything else and you just spend time together. Put your phone down and you be present in the moment. Maybe you cook dinner together, go on a picnic, ride a bike, go to a coffee shop. I don't know what you do. Whatever it is. For Melissa and I, we have great quality time when we're in the car together. Typically, this time of year, when it's not subarctic temperatures like it is right now, seems like we put the top down on the Jeep, we go for a ride. Sometimes we turn on the radio, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we talk, sometimes we don't. But I guarantee you this, most of the time we're holding hands. We just enjoy those times together. So maybe your spouse feels love when you prioritize them through time. Acts of service is the next one. Acts of service. This is when you actually do something for your spouse. Okay? When you do the laundry, fill up the car with gas, whatever it is. You do something that would serve them in somehow. Now, Melissa and I have been married almost 31 years. Okay? Oh, yeah, for her. Clap for her. Okay? It took me 17 years to figure this out. That's how smart I am. Okay? 17 years to figure this out and get somewhat good at this, and I'm still not good at this. But Melissa's love language is acts of service. Okay? She loves it when I do things for her. And so our first part of our marriage, I would write her a card, leave her a note, put it on the seat of her car, love you, have a great day. Or, you do that writing lipstick or marker on the mirror. You're fantastic, blah, blah. Or I'd send her flowers, and she get flowers. Yeah, thanks. I'm like, flowers? Come on. She's like, yeah, they're like $40 and they're going to die. Thanks, She's like, could I just have the cash equivalent in 30 minutes alone, or to go to Target or whatever? Like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So she's very much acts of service. But I was doing other things. And I was wondering why I was spending, why did she respond? I'm not getting reciprocated here. So then I realized that if I vacuum or if I do the dishes, boom, chicka, wow, wow. I'm just telling you. It works, okay? Now, I'm going to give you guys some advice. If this is your wife's love language, do not do that before she gets home. You let her catch you in the act, okay? Let her catch you in the act. I don't want to have the dishes done when Melissa gets there. I want her to see my booty up there at the sink doing the dishes, okay? Yeah, that's what magic happens right there, okay? But it took me 17 years to learn that's her love language. That's her love language. That's how she feels close to me. That's how I express love to her. Fourth one's physical touch. Some of us, it is the act of touch, whether it's holding hands or you're snuggled up together. Maybe it's intimacy and sexual relationship. Or that's when you feel closest to your spouse is in those moments. The last one is gifts. This is when you actually, when something is given to you or whatever, and you receive a gift. This is my primary love language. And here's what Melissa and I have learned. I am awful at acts of service, and she's awful at giving gifts. So we have to work really hard at this love language thing. And sometimes I have to just say, what can I do? What do I need to do? I need you to tell me what act of service can I do for you? And then sometimes she just say, what do you want for your birthday? It's just kind of like that. And we try to get that right. And act surprise and whatever that kind of stuff is. Okay, here's a recap slide. Here's the 5. And we're going to give you a quiz thing at the end, and you'll be able to figure out, if you don't know what yours are, you'll be able to get those at the end. Because here's why this is such a big deal. This is why this is such a big deal that we get this right, and that we express love and we receive love in these relationship things. Because all marriages are different. Some of your marriages, you're like soulmates. You're like, everything you do, you like the same bands, you're married, whatever, and everything you do is alike. You're just like, we're soulmates, we're connected. You like the same art, you watch the same TV, same team, whatever it is. You're just identical down the board. Some of you are soulmates. That's few. Most of us are in opposites attract kind of relationships. Most of us are in those kind of relationships. And that's where we have these differences. And what happens is we've sought out our own weaknesses to be fulfilled in a partner. And they've made us better, and then we experience life differently through those things and all those kind of things. And so when we start to understand how these love languages and things work, we start to understand how our partner is wired and what we can do. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of money writing those cards and sending those flowers. Nothing. Well, I was like, I can save a whole lot of money if I'll just do the dishes, make the bed, do some laundry. I can save a whole lot of money and get a whole lot further to where I want to be, Now, there's a whole lot more to say about this, and we're going to give you some tools for that in a couple of minutes. But this is what God designed us to do. And his fingerprints are all over a marriage relationship. There's this profound spiritual reality to love and marriage and how it relates to this exponential understanding of our relationship with Jesus. Because it's physical, it's emotional, it's chemical, and it's spiritual at its deepest level. And that's why some of our biggest wounds are from marriages that have broken down. Because we invested all those things and they broke down. And maybe we've blamed God or whatever it is. But man, if we get this relationship right, you can be so much stronger. And when you have a relationship where both spouses are committed to running hard and fast after God together, they're drawn together closer. That's just the way it works. And they build this solid spiritual foundation. But we get these things through understanding how we're wired, how we work, and also an understanding and an awareness that Satan wants to destroy your marriage. He wants to. But you can have a successful relationship. Everything can be redeemed. And when it is, it becomes this amazing example of Christ's love for us, an example of what the church is supposed to look like. And people who are far from God, who are searching desperately for what real relationships look like, for what real truth looks like, they need to see this. And when we live it out, amazing things happen. I just want you to know, none of us are perfect. Melissa and I, we by no means have a perfect relationship. We committed to each other and we said, we're going to do this. We've never talked about divorce, ever. Murder's been mentioned a couple times, but never divorce, okay? Never divorce, okay? And so we were just like, we're going to try. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep putting God's first, and we're going to follow this. Matthew chapter 19, beginning verse 4, it says this. Haven't you read the scriptures? Isn't that a great way of saying, read your Bible. Read your Bible. Jesus replied, they record that from the beginning, God made them male and female. Do I need to spend a lot of time here? Male, female. Male parts, female parts. Male emotions, female emotions. You're compatible. Your parts fit together. That's the way we were designed. I don't think we need to go a whole lot further than that. But I understand there are some of us that have temptations and those other things, and it gets confusing and it gets diluted. I understand that. But this is the way God designed us. This explains, again, why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife. And the two are united into one. Since they are no longer two but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. Man, when God does that and he works, things get really, really cool. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys a challenge. We say it every week. We're going to give you some challenges. We're going to give you some things to do. Okay, so we're going to challenge you this week to go on a date night. And so when you leave here today, when you walk out those rooms, if you're online, sorry, you're out of luck. Should have been here. Okay, walk out the room. Okay, when you walk out, there's going to be a table out there with date night envelopes. Okay, and so you get to determine your date night. When it is and all this kind of stuff. But before you go on your first date, you open the first envelope, and there are multiple envelopes in these things, okay? And they're going to guide you through what to do that night, okay? And I'm also going to let you know there are going to be a few of you who get your date night paid for inside your envelope, okay? Oh yeah. Only one per couple, okay? No rifling through them, no holding them up to the light, shaking them off. I know how you people work. I do the same thing, okay? Okay, don't do that. So some of you are going to get that taken care of. I guess depending on where you go. I mean, it's probably more Taco Bell money than Ruth's Chris money, but hey, whatever, okay? It's going to help. So, and we want you to do this. We want you to do this and go through these steps this week. And we're going to be guiding you through this whole night. Different times you open a different envelope. It's going to just guide you through. A couple times you're going to see this thing. There's a hashtag on there. And it's hashtag Refinery Date Night. And this is where it's going to be kind of fun. Okay, we're going to ask you to take a picture of you on your date night, and you hashtag that. Okay, you hashtag that, Refinery Date Night. And all this stuff is on the thing, okay? And then just put it online. And next week, it's going to go through next Saturday night. So you got until next Saturday to do this, okay? Through next Saturday. Then next Sunday, we're going to have a drawing. All the couples that do this and participate in this, put all their names in a hat, and there's going to be a drawing. And this is what Melissa and I are going to do. This is not a church, this is Melissa and I, okay? We're going to have somebody draw, and then we're going to send you $100, okay? We're going to send you $100. You can do with it whatever you want. Pay a bill, go on another date night, go to Target. We don't care. It's for you. Do whatever you want. And then you're going to also have the option that if you want to respond to that, we want to go on a date night with you. Okay, some of you are like, no, I don't want that. I get it, okay? You don't have to respond. And if you don't respond to that, you just take the 100. We're okay with that. We're not going to take it personally. I mean, I've eaten with me before. It's kind of gross sometimes. You get kind of sling things everywhere and all that kind of stuff, you know. But anyway, you have an option to do that. If you want, we would like to do it. We just want to invest in your marriage. Okay, so we want to do that. One final thing. There's going to be a QR code up here, and you can look at this now, or it's also going to be up here after the service. So you can take a picture of it now or later. But here's what you're going to find if you scan this. You're going to find 2 tests. Yay! Right, tests. Very easily taken tests. One of them is going to be your love language test. Some of you, and you're like, I took that a while ago. Take it again. It takes 5 minutes. You and your spouse both do that. Identify your love language. And then there's going to be another link to what's called the Enneagram test. And you're going to learn about your personality and all these kind of things. You're going to learn about your partner's personality, your personality, how you work, when your partner's healthy, what it looks like, when they're unhealthy, what it looks like. These are just great tools. There's no cost for these things. We're taking care of all that. It's free, okay? It's done, okay? We just want to invest in your marriage. I would encourage you to do those things before you go on your date night. We just want to do this better. Nobody's perfect. Everything can be redeemed. Everything can be redeemed. There are some of you that you're sitting here like, man, I messed this up. I didn't know these things. It's okay. It's okay. God can redeem anything. He can redeem anything. But he's like, I've got this plan. If you do this, I promise things will be better. They're not going to be perfect because we live in this imperfect world with an enemy who wants to destroy anything that you do that could have impact for the kingdom. So we fight that all the time. But we want to partner with you and just say, hey, let's be better together in this area of our relationship. God, we just want to say thanks. Say thank you for the way that you show up time and time again, the way that you forgive us, the way that you equip us. Thank you for glimpses of who you are. And God, it's so amazing that this idea of marriage and this relationship is one that you've designed centuries ago as a model of how much Jesus loves us and how these relationships are supposed to work. Jesus loved the church so much that he gave his life for the church. Husbands are supposed to love their wives so much that they would give their lives for their spouse. It's such a beautiful picture when we do it well. And God, we want to say we're sorry for the times we've messed it up. We've done things our way. And there are a lot of us have some wounds because of that. But in those moments, God, help us remember that everything can be redeemed. You can use the situation no matter what to make it good, to make it holy, and make it beautiful if we choose to do things your way. God, thanks for letting us be a part of the Capital C Church. We lift up our brothers and sisters in Tucson as they minister in this very difficult situation. But God, right now I just pray for the marriages in this room, those watching online, that we would be challenged to strengthen them and to make them better in a way that only you can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.